I, like every other teenager, love getting myself scared. But I don't just like it. I'm addicted to it. This is why I spend most of my time online reading creepypastas. But reading creepypastas just isn't enough. So, I turn off the lights in my room, close the curtains, lock the door, and sit in the corner with my eyes glued to my laptop. This gets me in the mood, but it still isn't enough. I've read all of the scariest creepypastas, like The Slender Man, Squidward Suicide, and Laughing Jack, but it's disappointing how stupid and childish these are. I've never found a story that I was completely glued to until I came across Jeff the Killer. This was a very famous one, and I can't believe I haven't read it before. It looked like another really scary creepypasta, but nothing special. I read it, and then I read it again, and again, and again. I read it until my eyes turned red and my parents were banging on my door and yelling at me to get out. But even then, I needed more. I needed to find out more about this story, so I searched online. I came across a Twitter page with the name Jeff GTS. The GTS more than likely stood for Go to Sleep. He had less than 10 followers, and I could see why. He posted pictures of dead people, mostly children, and there was a white hand on the body, or the bottom half of a blood-stained hoodie, standing next to people that were hanged with their eyes missing. Over the next few days, he posted about 15 pictures a day, each picture getting more and more graphic. He began carving things into the dead bodies. He cut their cheeks to force a terrifying smile into their face, and he also seemed to burn their eyelids. He posted the pictures with the hashtag, just like me, knowing what Jeff the Killer looked like in the story. I saw this as a sick joke, but it was just what I needed, kind of, and I didn't even think of unfollowing. One by one, his followers left. Ha! Couldn't take it, I guess, I said to myself as they unfollowed. Soon enough, I was the only follower left. My proud feeling only lasted about a minute because exactly at that instant, when the number of followers changed from 2 to 1, he posted a picture of my house on his page. Oh my God, I said out loud as a tear dropped from my eye. At this point, I was terrified. This had gone too far, and I was going to die, and who knows what he would do to my body. He's outside. I just know it. I need to see him and find out who this psycho is. I slowly made my way to the window, fearing what would be outside, staring at me. I looked out, and there was a man across the street. I couldn't see his face because he was facing down and his hoodie was covering his head. His hoodie was almost fully stained with the blood of his victims. I thought he was a regular murderer who wanted to mess with my mind before he killed me. But I noticed something. I noticed his pale, burnt skin. I noticed his dark, black, burnt hair. And then, he looked up at me. The face on the internet looked like something out of a kid's book compared to the face I was staring at now. And I let out a loud gasp as my cries turned to laughter. I began laughing uncontrollably. I didn't have a reason, but I loved every second of it. Because it was 4 in the morning, my laughter woke up my mom, and she came running into my room with a worried look on her face and asked, "What's going on? Are you okay?" All that I could do was point at the window and say, "Him." She looked outside, but he was gone. She started backing away out of the room awkwardly and fakely laughing as I said to myself, "That's right. Just walk away, 'cause it'll be the last time that you do." I waited until I was certain that they were asleep. I got a kitchen knife and simply killed them. I don't know why I killed them, I just did. That was my first murder, and I loved it. I loved the adrenaline rush and the way my parents pleaded. Something changed that night when I saw his face. It's as if he flipped a switch in my head that made me want to kill. From this moment on, he would be my protector and my idol. The next day, I sat in the corner of my room as always. The smell of death now filled my house, and I couldn't help but enjoy it. I waited impatiently to hear from Jeff. I fell asleep for about an hour, and woke up to the sound of someone whispering in my ear. I woke up startled and looked around the room until I saw a message in big letters on the wall right in front of me. It was written in blood. I tasted it to make sure. The message read, "Hospital parking lot, 12 a.m." I sat waiting for 12 a.m. to come when a UPS guy knocked on the door. I struggled a little, but I added him to my small collection of victims. 12 a.m. finally came, and I ran all the way to the hospital like a child eager to buy a new toy. When I got there, I thought that he would be hiding, but there he was, out in the middle of the lot. His head was down, and I couldn't see his face. Fear took over me as I slowly walked toward him, but I could feel at my heart almost pumping out of my chest, pumping adrenaline through my body, and I couldn't stop myself. When I got about 5 feet from him, he looked up and looked at me right in the eyes and said with his demonic smile, "Time to go to sleep." I ran as fast as I could around the corner and hid behind a dumpster, tears rushing down my face. I gripped the knife that I had brought hard, but I knew that it would be no use. I could hear him now, looking for me and calling me. He was getting closer and kept repeating, "You don't have to hide, for we are just alike." I knew exactly what he meant. He knows that he changed me. He knows that he made me into a murderer. I was now filled with rage as I realized that he was the reason I killed my parents. After sitting there for what felt like hours, I finally worked up the balls to come out from behind the dumpster and try to kill my idol. But when I peeked my head around from behind the dumpster, there he was. His face was now inches away from mine, and I flew back, a coward, onto the floor like a helpless child. He made me feel like. He began laughing at me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, swung at him with all that was left in me, but he was too fast. Without even looking, he grabbed my arm, looking me right in the eyes, twisted my wrist in a way that didn't seem humanly possible. He then kicked me in the stomach, and I fell to my knees, vomiting and groaning. He kicked me in the face and made me fall to my back. I had given up by then, and I didn't even try to fight back. I was too afraid of what he would do if I did. Jeff kneeled down over me and smiled in his human smile. His smile grew so big that the already carved smile in his cheeks began to split more, and blood dropped from his cheeks onto my face. This was disgusting, but I didn't care anymore. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to die anyways. He put his knife to my neck, and still smiling, slowly started to cut the skin around my neck. I didn't even have the strength to yell of pain anymore. He took the bloody knife and put the point to my chest. In his raspy voice he asked, "Would you like to say the words with me?" I knew exactly what he meant, but I couldn't answer him. He put pressure on my chest with the knife and asked again, more violently. "I said, would you like to say the words with me?" Yes, my lord," I said quietly. I felt the knife dig into me as I said, "Go to..." The last thing that I heard was the wonderful sound of my idol saying, "That's right. Go to sleep."